All right, so today we're diving deep into GTPL Hathway, and I gotta say, I'm pretty excited about this one.
Yeah.
We've got their Q3 FY25 earnings call audio.
Yeah.
We've got their investor presentation, which I gotta say looks really sharp, very visual, lots of information in there.
Mm.
And, to round it all out, we've even got their integrated files.
Of course, we have to have that.
Yeah, can't forget that.
Got to have the numbers.
All the detailed financials, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be piecing all this together to understand what's going on with GTPL Hathway this quarter especially.
Yeah. Getting beyond the headlines, I always find it so interesting to actually listen to these earnings calls and hear the management team, like in their own words.
Totally.
What did they focus on?
Yeah.
What questions are the analysts asking them?
Absolutely. Those Q&A sections are gold.
Yeah.
So just to kind of set the stage for anyone who maybe needs a quick refresher, GTPL Hathway is the largest MSO in India.
The biggest one, yep.
And they've really been making a push into fixed broadband as well, right?
Yeah, they're a big player in that space too now.
Yeah, I mean, over 12 million households connected
Wow.
across 23 states. That's pretty impressive.
It is. And what's really striking is how much they've grown in the last 7 years. They were talking about it in their investor presentation.
Yeah.
I mean, 1.6x growth in cable subscribers?
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
That's pretty good.
But their broadband growth, forget about it, 4.2x.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's insane.
That's got to make you wonder what's driving that kind of expansion.
For sure.
Right.
Like, where's all that coming from?
Well, I mean, they have been expanding into new territories pretty aggressively.
Right.
Traditionally, they've been really strong in Gujarat and West Bengal, but now they're talking about going into Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, even the Northeast.
It's a classic land grab.
Right.
Expand your footprint, get more subscribers, boost those revenue numbers.
Makes sense.
But of course, there are risks involved.
Totally.
Like, can they keep up the same level of service as they grow so fast?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And what about unexpected challenges in these new markets, right? You never know what you're going to run into.
Exactly.
And we have to talk about profitability.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't just chase subscriber numbers without paying attention to the bottom line.
Right. And speaking of the bottom line, their overall revenue did grow 4% year on year.
Right.
And 4% sequentially.
Okay, so they are growing.
So, they are growing that top line.
Yeah, but we need to figure out what's driving that growth.
Yeah.
Right. Is it just new subscribers?
Yeah.
Or are they also seeing an increase in ARPU, that average revenue per user?
Yeah.
And how do their different segments compare? Like cable versus broadband, what are the growth rates there?
All right, let's break it down by segment then, starting with cable TV.
Okay.
Listening to the earnings call, it sounds like they had some challenges this quarter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they mentioned that extended rain and floods,
Yeah, makes sense.
particularly between August and October, really put a dent in their customer additions and retention.
Right. I mean, severe weather can really mess things up.
Yeah.
Disrupt installations and repairs, even cause outages.
Right.
It's a reminder that even big established companies like GTPL Hathway can't always control everything.
No, they can't control the weather.
Right.
Yeah. They did mention that things recovered a bit after Diwali, adding 200,000 subscribers in November and December.
Okay.
But I'm curious, did they talk about how they plan to handle these kinds of events in the future?
Yeah, like are they investing in more robust infrastructure to prevent disruptions?
Yeah, or maybe offering flexible payment options for customers who are affected by outages.
Good questions.
I'm sure the analysts were grilling them about that.
I'm sure they were. We'll have to listen closely and see what their strategy is.
Yeah.
Oh. Another thing to keep in mind, those recent price hikes by the major broadcasters.
Oh, yeah.
How quickly can GTPL Hathway pass those increases on to their customers?
That's a good point.
Without losing a bunch of them.
Yeah, without causing a big churn.
Exactly.
Yeah, an analyst did ask about the timeline for passing on those price hikes.
Right.
And management was, well, they were pretty vague.
Really?
Yeah, they just said they're still assessing the situation.
Sounds like they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, caught between a rock and a hard place.
Right, because if they raise prices too fast,
Yeah.
customers might get upset and leave.
And if they wait too long.
Their profits take a hit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting to see how they handle this.
Okay, so let's talk about broadband now.
All right, broadband.
Obviously a huge growth area for them.
Yeah.
But even there are some signs of potential challenges.
Okay.
Remember that amazing 4.2x subscriber growth we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, sequentially, the growth has been slowing down.
Interesting.
So I'm starting to wonder if they're hitting some sort of ceiling.
Yeah, maybe the market is getting saturated,
Right.
or maybe the competition is getting fiercer.
Yeah, or both.
Did they talk about this slowdown in the earnings call?
Yeah, an analyst actually specifically asked about whether increased competition or shift in the market was affecting their broadband subscriber growth.
And what did they say?
Well, their response was, I don't know, a little bit evasive.
Really?
They talked about focusing on the B2B segment and having some challenges with equipment compatibility.
Focusing on B2B makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Businesses need more bandwidth,
Yeah,
and they're not as sensitive to place changes.
totally.
But this equipment compatibility issue,
Yeah.
that's a little concerning.
Yeah, is that a sign of technological limitations?
Maybe?
Supply chain bottlenecks?
Could be?
We definitely need to dig deeper into that.
Absolutely.
But before we get too lost in the numbers,
Okay.
I want to circle back to something that really caught my eye in the investor presentation.
Okay.
Hidden in the sky.
Oh, yeah, the mystery project.
Right. They're being super secretive about the details.
They are.
But just the name itself is intriguing.
It's a great name.
It is a great name.
Sounds like they're up to something big.
It does.
Yeah.
They did say they're using satellite technology to expand their cable TV signal reach across India.
Okay.
And I don't know about you, but my mind immediately started racing with possibilities.
Mine too.
What if they could, bypass traditional cable lines altogether
Wow.
and beam content directly to homes, even in the most remote areas?
That would be revolutionary.
It would be huge.
Yeah.
But can they pull it off?
Right. Like, what kind of technology are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Are there regulatory hurdles?
And what about the cost?
Yeah. How much is this going to set them back?
That's a good question. And it seems like we're going to have to wait until next quarter for the big reveal.
All right. So we have to wait.
Yeah, but for now, let's dig into their financials and see if we can find any hints about their commitment to hidden in the sky.
Good idea.
All right.
Because an analyst actually asked about their rising interest costs.
Oh, did they?
And guess what the CFO pointed to? Increased overdraft utilization and borrowing specifically for hidden in the sky.
So they're putting some serious money behind this.
They are.
Wow. But how much debt are they willing to take on?
Yeah, that's the question.
And what does that mean for their overall financial stability?
Well, remember, they've got a pretty solid track record.
Yeah, they've been paying dividends consistently, been profitable for 7 years.
Right. So that gives them some leeway with investors, even if they do take on more debt.
Yeah, but they can't go too crazy.
No, they can't be reckless, especially with that legal battle with the Department of Telecommunications still hanging over their heads.
Oh, right, that license fee issue.
Yeah, that adds another layer of complexity to their financial situation, for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about cable TV and broadband broadly,
Yeah.
but I want to dive deeper into their performance in specific segments.
Okay.
See how they're doing in different markets,
Okay.
see if there are any regional trends emerging.
I like
Yeah.
it. Let's do it.
Okay.
See what we can find.
Starting with cable TV, they're very strong in Gujarat, #1 position there,
Right.
and West Bengal, they're #2.
Mm.
But they're also pushing into these new territories, which means they're facing different challenges and opportunities.
Of course.
And then on the broadband side, I'm really curious to see how they're competing with those giants like Jio and Airtel.
Yeah, how do they stand out in such a crowded market?
Yeah, what's their secret sauce?
Let's find out.
All right, let's do it.
It's interesting how they're tackling all these different markets. Like the presentation mentioned, they entered 4 new states just last year.
Really?
Delhi, Haryana, Uttarakhand, and Himachal Pradesh.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's pretty aggressive.
It is, but remember we were talking about those lower ARPUs in newer markets?
Right.
I wonder if they're just banking on volume to make up for that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Did they say anything about that in the earnings call?
They did touch on it a little bit.
Hmm.
It sounds like they are seeing some churn in their mature markets, like Gujarat, where they've been the top dog for so long. So same customers are leaving, maybe going to the competition, or just finding other ways to get their entertainment.
Right.
And to compensate, they're really focusing on getting new subscribers in these emerging markets.
Yeah, which makes sense.
But yeah, like you said, those customers usually come with lower ARPUs.
Right, so it's a balancing act.
Exactly. They need to figure out how to keep those high-value customers in their established areas while also attracting enough new subscribers in these new places to keep the revenue flowing.
It's a tough challenge.
It is, and it comes down to their customer acquisition and retention strategies.
Right.
Like, are they really differentiating themselves from the competition?
Yeah.
Do they offer packages and services that people actually want?
Good point.
And are they investing in good customer service to build loyalty?
I see they launched a new consumer app, GTPL Buzz.
Oh, right.
Maybe that's part of their strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be a way to improve the customer experience and make things more convenient.
Especially in this digital age, right?
Exactly. But they need to keep innovating.
Yeah.
Stay ahead of the curve, especially with companies like Geo and Airtel breathing down their necks.
Totally. Speaking of Geo and Airtel, let's switch gears back to broadband.
Okay, back to broadband.
We know they crossed the 1 million subscriber mark.
Yeah, that's a big milestone.
It is, but their sequential growth has been slowing down.
Right.
So how do they plan to grab a bigger piece of the pie?
Well, they're really emphasizing the B2B segment, which we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Businesses need a lot of bandwidth,
Yeah.
and they're not as picky about price.
Totally.
They're also showcasing their fiber infrastructure.
Okay.
They've got over 100,000 kilometers of owned fiber
Wow.
and more than 16,000 kilometers of leased fiber.
That's a lot of fiber.
It is, and that should give them a good foundation for delivering high-speed internet.
And they've been promoting those higher speed offerings, plans up to 200 mile Ps,
Nice.
plus those truly unlimited data packages.
Smart move.
Yeah, appealing to all those data-hungry consumers out there.
Definitely. People are streaming more than ever.
Yeah.
Gaming, video conferencing, unlimited data is becoming essential.
It's not a luxury anymore, it's a necessity.
Exactly.
And I noticed they're making an effort to reach rural areas too.
Okay.
They specifically mentioned tapping into the rural Gujarat market,
Interesting.
which aligns with the government's push for a digitally connected India.
Right, and it allows them to reach a whole new customer base.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
It is, but we have to remember that their broadband business is still pretty young.
Yeah.
They're up against some heavy hitters,
Mm-hmm.
companies with a lot of money and experience.
Right, they need to be smart about their growth.
Yeah, they need to balance that desire for expansion with sound financial management.
Definitely.
It'll be interesting to see how they manage that.
All right. Well, speaking of managing tricky situations, remember that legal battle with the Department of Telecommunications?
Oh, yeah, the license fee issue?
Yeah, it's time to unpack that.
Okay, let's do it.
So the integrated filing lays out the details.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dispute over how those fees are calculated.
Okay.
The Department of Telecommunications wants to include revenue from GTPL Hathway's cable TV business
Okay.
when determining the license fees.
I see.
But GTPL Hathway argues that that revenue should be excluded because it's not derived from their internet service provider license.
Right, so it's about which revenue streams are actually subject to these fees.
Exactly.
What's GTPL Hathway's argument?
Well, they're relying on a 2019 ruling by the Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal.
TDSAT.
Yeah, TDSAT.
Okay.
Which basically said internet service providers shouldn't be charged license fees on pure internet services.
Okay.
But the Department of Telecommunications challenged that ruling,
Oh.
and now the case is pending in the Supreme Court.
Wow, that's high stakes.
Yeah, the filing says the potential liability for GTPL Hathway is over 9 billion rupees.
9 billion.
9 billion, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It is, and that's just for this one case.
Right, what about the other one?
Oh yeah, their subsidiary, GTPL Broadband Private Limited, is also in a legal battle.
Right, over license fees for their internet services.
Exactly, and their potential liability there is over 3 billion rupees.
They were talking like 12 billion rupees in total.
Yeah, potentially.
That's huge.
It is, and it's interesting that they haven't recognized any provision for this potential liability in their financial statements.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a bold move.
It is. It seems like they're pretty confident in their legal position.
Yeah, but we can't ignore the potential impact if things don't go their way.
Right. It definitely adds a lot of uncertainty.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I want to bring us back to hidden in the sky for a minute.
Okay.
With all their growth plans, new markets, and this huge investment in this mysterious project,
Yeah,
is there a risk they're spreading themselves too thin?
that's a great question.
Right.
It is a lot to handle.
It is.
They're expanding their cable TV business.
Mhm.
They're pushing hard for broadband growth.
Right.
And now they've got this whole satellite thing on their plate.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they have the resources and the manpower to manage it all.
Exactly. Are they prioritizing growth over profitability?
Yeah. And are they really thinking through the risks involved with each of these endeavors?
These are good questions.
They've always had a pretty solid financial track record.
They have.
But these new investments, plus those legal battles, could put a strain on their resources.
Definitely. They'll need to be very careful with their cash flow and debt levels.
Absolutely. It seems like they're walking a tightrope here.
They are.
And their success depends on their ability to maintain that balance.
Speaking of balancing, they're also trying to balance their traditional offerings with a more modern, tech-savvy approach.
Yeah, like that GV AI chatbot they've got.
Right, integrated into their app and website.
Trying to improve efficiency and make things easier for customers.
Exactly, using technology to their advantage.
And they mentioned some strategic technology partnerships in their presentation.
Oh, like who?
Oracle, Nokia, Nagra.
Big names.
Yeah, they're not afraid to partner up with industry leaders.
Good for them.
It shows they're serious about using technology to stay competitive.
Absolutely. In today's world, you have to embrace technology.
Yeah.
Those partnerships suggest they're committed to using cutting-edge solutions,
Right.
streamlining operations, improving service quality, and making things smoother for customers.
And it all ties in with that GTPL Buzz app.
Right.
Live TV, streaming content, even cloud gaming.
They're building a whole entertainment platform,
Yeah, trying to become a one-stop shop for everything.
just like their competitors.
It's all about capturing those eyeballs,
That's
keeping users engaged.
That's the name of the game.
So in the end, it all comes down to attracting and keeping customers.
In this crazy, ever-changing market,
And that brings us back to hidden in the sky.
full circle.
Right. This
Yeah.
could be their secret weapon.
Yeah, the thing that sets them apart.
It has the potential to really shake things up,
Definitely.
give them an edge over their rivals.
I can't wait to hear more about it.
Me neither. Hopefully they'll spill the beans next quarter.
Fingers crossed.
But for now, let's shift our focus to the people behind all these ambitious plans.
Okay, the management team.
The ones calling the shots.
Let's meet the masterminds.
We've heard their voices on the earnings call,
Yeah.
but what do we really know about their experience, their track record?
What's their vision for the future of the company?
So we've got this picture of a company making some big moves, but who are the people behind it all?
Right, like who's actually driving this train?
We heard from the management team on the earnings call.
Yeah, Mr. Anirudh Jadeja, the managing director,
Right.
and Mr. Piyush Pankaj, the chief strategy officer.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Mr. Parimal Sanghvi from the promoter family, the chief business officer.
Right. And we can't forget Mr. Savangathi, the CFO.
Absolutely. They all played a part in explaining where the company stands and where they're headed.
And what really stood out to me was their constant focus on growth.
Yeah, they kept talking about organic and inorganic growth.
It's like they're trying to grow in every way possible.
Exactly. They're not content with just expanding their existing customer base.
Right.
They're actively looking for acquisitions and partnerships to really accelerate things.
It's a pretty exciting strategy.
It is, but can they actually manage all these growth initiatives at the same time?
That's a good question.
Do they have the right structure, the right leadership to pull it off?
Their investor presentation does highlight their strong financial performance.
Right, 7 years of profitability.
Dividend payments.
That shows stability, right?
Definitely.
And a commitment to shareholder value.
And they also emphasize their relationships with all those local cable operators.
Yeah, over 47,000 of them.
And over 1,750 enterprise clients.
Those relationships are key.
Totally, for that last mile connectivity.
Absolutely, and for reaching a wider audience.
So it seems like they've got a good foundation.
They do, but the challenge now is using that foundation to scale up and compete effectively.
Especially in such a fast-moving market.
Right, they're up against some serious players. Jio, Airtel,
With deep pockets.
and years of experience.
It's a real battle of the titans.
And don't forget those legal challenges we talked about.
Oh, right. Those could have a big impact on their financial health.
And their ability to invest in future growth.
It's a complicated situation.
It is. Lots of opportunities, but lots of obstacles too.
And ultimately, it's up to the management team to navigate all of that.
To make the right decisions and execute their vision.
So bringing it back to the beginning,
Yeah, full circle.
our mission for this deep dive was to analyze GTPL Hathway's performance, understand their strategies.
And get some insights into the Indian cable and broadband market.
Did we achieve that?
I think we did.
We've seen a company at a crossroads.
Experiencing growth, but facing new challenges.
Competition, legal battles, the difficulties of managing multiple growth initiatives.
They're making big bets, like hidden in the sky,
Which could pay off big time.
or backfire spectacularly.
It's a really interesting case study.
It is.
So what does this all mean for you?
What should you take away from all of this?
Here's a final thought for you to consider.
Given GTPL Hathway's ambitious plans, their investments in technology,
and the constantly changing landscape of the Indian cable and broadband market.
Do you think they're well positioned for success in the long run?
It's a question worth thinking about.
We've looked at the evidence,
Explored different perspectives.
highlighted the positives and the negatives,
Now it's up to you to weigh those factors.
and draw your own conclusions.
And remember, this story is far from over.
The business world never stands still.
Keep learning
Keep exploring.
and keep diving deep.
That's it for our deep dive into GTPL Hathway.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time.
Keep those brains working.